I had an experience this couple of days ago of being invited to share a meditation at the memorial of a young man who had taken his own life. Of course, that kind of situation, I mean, I have to say that in my own mind, of course I said yes, and then I thought, that's a lot of pain. I really, I caught that self-centered thought in myself. It was like, whoa, can I? So you get the I out of the way and recognize that there's an opportunity there to help hold people in love, because that's all there is in a situation like that. And the reason I'm bringing it to a Bodhisattva Breakfast Corner talk, and specifically to our community, is because I think it's really important for us to know the resource that is on Venerable Chödrön's website, that I wasn't so aware of, actually, until Sarah Conover was writing about suicide in Buddhism for the column that she runs. And I sent her to Venerable's website, and then the very next thing I knew was like, wow, here's this resource that's so useful for us. So the Venerable talked a lot to, in the 18th annual Healing After Suicide conference in Seattle, it was 10 years ago, where she spoke with people about how to be in the grieving process, and wrote this, I think, brilliant meditation outline of how to think. Now, I consulted a wise friend who said, in some ways nothing helps. The pain is huge, the sorrow is huge. At the same time, holding ourselves, holding the people involved in kindness, knowing that everyone grieves in a different way, being 100% present with that, and holding it in kindness and goodness is like the best thing we can do. Which was really also helpful advice, and I think a very important context for thinking about this meditation. And then we also have gotten a few things lately from people who are sitting with their parents who are dying, or death is around. Maybe it's around all the time, but it seems quite present right this minute. And I realized that this meditation is actually brilliant for any kind of grieving process. So I wanted to not read the whole meditation, but simply outline the steps that Venerable gives as a way to bring our mind again and again and again and again to how to bring our Buddhist perspective. And you don't have to be a Buddhist to bring this perspective, but from the Buddhist perspective, bringing these ways of thinking about sending someone off with love in the most difficult kinds of losses, even the most predictable kinds of losses. It's still painful. We're all still here. We still have attachment. We're still interconnected with one another. I also want to qualify this before I say, and in my own experience years ago, I was working on separation and a loss, and I would sit down and I would do the meditations, and for a little while, just while on the cushion, I would feel good. And then I would stand up and boom, immediately, there's the pain again, And I was complaining about this to a Venerable Rabina Corton, who, and I've used this line before, but she said to me, have some humility. She said, you've been having this kind of attachment for countless lives. So to think that we're going to do one meditation, 10 meditations, even 100 meditations, and that's going to fix it is the wrong notion. It's not about fixing anything, but it's about guiding us in a way to think that makes it seem not so bleak, not so overwhelming, not so that we are have nothing we can do. And if we get a handle on it, as my friend said, we can learn about it and be brave. We can help others with it too. We can help others to understand. So I'm not giving this as a panacea, a clue, a method for getting over your grief and relieving the pain. It's not that. And that's not Venerable Children presented either. But it is a way of thinking about it. And then I saw in the group that I met with on Sunday, it seemed to bring some kind of sense. When when things make no sense, it brought some sense. And so the first point, which I thought was extremely important, is envision the person healthy and active. So that what you're holding in your mind is their beauty, their strength. The second point then is of rejoicing in knowing them. Rejoicing in having had that relationship. And then the third point is bringing to our own recognition and even addressing that person, everything in life changes. Like reminding ourselves, everything in life changes. And there's no way this relationship was going to last forever anyway. I'm not happy about, didn't expect it to end the way it is now or the timing, but acknowledging that truth. Then recognizing that the relationship is based in love. 100%. And that's the whole foundation for it. And then the next step is in the basis of that love, then recognizing that whatever was unclear, whatever was undone, whatever wasn't settled, if there was contention, or especially in the case of somebody leaves violently and suddenly, if things seem incomplete, to forgive out of that basis of love, not carrying forward any of those kinds of questions and doubts, right? And I want to stress here that forgiveness doesn't mean that whatever happened was okay. You're not condoning, but it's simply saying, I'm not going to have anger about this anymore. I'm letting the anger go, which happens a lot in not in every situation, but often there's anger as a present. The next point she brings up is I'm remembering that whatever suffering, confusion, or so forth was in your mind, I know that's not who you are. That is not your essence. So again, remembering the beauty of that person. And whatever I'm experiencing, whatever grief or pain, is not my essence. So holding my own self in a larger context of my own beauty and so forth. Then with the next step, wherever you are, wishing you well, go with my love. Recognize that that love is an infinite amount in our own heart, that it goes to that person, but then begin to think about sending it everywhere. And then as Venerable says, feel the love and compassion in your heart and share it with the world. And so taking again, out of the context of our own pain, beginning to recognize that it's a shared experience, that we're not alone with that. So is the love a shared experience, and intentionally sharing that with others. She even has a reminder. She says there's the mind that may want to replay the incident again and again and again in your own mind. She said, if you can bring your mind to recognize this, my loved one died, and that was it. They experienced it one time, it was over. Every time I replay it, I bring the trauma back again to myself. And so that is a real danger in especially sudden deaths going over again. Even with my own mom's death, how did that happen? No, the unanswered questions come up again. Stop. They experienced it one time. To try to not let the mind, our own mind, bring ourselves through it any more than we need to. To recognize that each one of us, is the next point, has experienced unbelievable pain, and without discounting your own experience, not saying so my pain is nothing, not at all, but recognizing that my pain is shared, just as an earlier point. My pain is shared. It's a human experience. We all have it. In my own words, everybody's walking around with a broken heart. Some are a little fresher at the moment, some are a little less, but everybody's walking around with a broken heart. And then she goes one step further. Be aware that this is not the only relationship which you have. There are other people that you love. There are other people that love you. There are other people that need your love. And that you have a full life. And your departed loved one had a full life. And so to share that fullness, to share that continuation with a big picture, and how they died does not define their whole person. You know, we say that in terms of our friends in prison. That one single act does not define the person who's now in prison for his life. And the same thing is true especially in the event of a suicide. That act does not define that person. It was a one action in their life. And so to let our mind continue to stay open to the fullness of who they were, all they brought, and rejoicing in being with them. Yeah. So this, Venerable's talk, other resources are available on that website, tuptentutoring.org. This particular one is in a suicide section. There's also a bit on death, dying, and grieving. But it is such a common experience. And the resources, I think, are so few, really. And how to think about it, how to deal with it, especially from the Buddhist perspective. I just wanted to make sure that the community knew, because we get calls a lot. Often, actually. We get a lot of calls. So to know that that resource is there, and that these step-by-step way of thinking is, can it, as I said, at least bring some way of holding something that is so difficult to understand, so unfathomable, really. How could this happen? Why could this happen? Whether it's suicide or any kind of sudden death, for sure. How we continue, how we live, and how we make use of it in a way that's beneficial for ourselves and for the people around us, and in that way honors the memory of the person that we're grieving by carrying that love forward and sharing it with others. Yeah, so thank you.